Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Today's another episode of Coffee and a Chat with Katie. Oh yeah. But first I want to thank today's sponsor, BetterHelp. They provide anyone facing life's challenges with easy, discreet, and affordable access to professional counseling from a licensed therapist, such as myself. Now today's topic is all about mental health in our armed forces. And the question that I received says, hey Katie, mental health professionals often give great support to most people. But I find that support doesn't always translate well to one particular population, the military and veterans. Under extreme conditions, active duty members have a hard time managing their mental health and their jobs. Too often, like in the case of former sailor Peter Mims, this leads to a sort of mental breakdown. Reaching out for help falls on deaf ears while the military keeps demanding more. What I want to know is, how do we help this special population? How do we even help people who literally have no control over their own lives? I thought this was a great question, and I haven't talked much about mental health in our armed forces at all. And so I did a ton of research. I'm open to all of your thoughts about this in the comments. But first, before I even get into this, I want to thank each and every member of our armed forces for giving of their time and possibly their lives in order to keep us all safe and free. It's because of their sacrifices that I'm able to have a channel such as this and walk around safely in my community. And honestly, thank you just never seems like enough, but know that I am extremely grateful for all your sacrifices. Now let's jump into that question. If you want to read the full article that was released from the Military Times, I'll link it in the description, but just for the sake of this video, the short synopsis of what happened to Peter is that he was on a ship where all of the members, all of his colleagues, reported that it was a very demoralizing environment. Their superior officer made them work extremely long hours, was horribly emotionally abusive and rude to them, leaving them all feeling terrible. After being deployed for a while, Peter began to display some signs of paranoia. He talked to other sailors saying he could shoot fireballs out of his hands and honestly just talking a lot of nonsense. Other friends of his on the ship talked about how he was going through some stress with family, that his wife has talked about divorce, and he was just having a really hard time. And after all of this is going on, for week after week after week with Peter, he disappears. At first it was just that Peter didn't show up for his regular check-in. And then people went looking for him and wondered where he was. And after a week-long search, he was found on the boat itself, in the engine room, in a part where people normally couldn't get to. It was extremely hot, and he was covered in his own urine and feces. And at this point, he's then treated like a criminal. They put him in cuffs, they pulled him off the ship, and he will now be discharged. And instead of being medically discharged, as he clearly needs, then that would guarantee that he would get the help that he needs from the Navy. Instead, he's being administratively separated. And what that means for those of us who aren't in the armed services is that he'll get no help from them. They're essentially severing all ties. So now he has no job, no support, and no health care. So here we have someone who has risked their life to keep us safe, and as a result of all the pressures of doing so, has had a mental breakdown. And we aren't helping him. And the even more infuriating issue is that this isn't an isolated incident. When I was talking to other members of our community who are in the armed forces, they told me that not only are they subjected to traumatizing situations when they're actually at war, but the thing that no one talks about is the high rate of assault amongst service members. And when something happens to us like that, when we are traumatized, we're left with no help for the debilitating PTSD that can follow. The entire mental health system within our armed forces is lacking, and I would even argue after doing research for this that it's completely broken. Now, I consulted with 3 different members of the armed forces as well as with a former Navy sexual assault victim advocate, and here's what I found out about their mental health care system. First is that you're encouraged to seek mental health help and support, but if you are diagnosed with PTSD, which is one of the most common diagnoses, and any of those triggers that are associated with your PTSD have anything to do with the use of weapons or loud noises, whatever those triggers are, if they think it could affect you in battle, then you may not be able to ever carry a weapon again. And so in essence, you might not be able to do your job. They may take that away from you, meaning that then by getting help, you could potentially lose your job and your ability to serve your country. And I say the terms may and potentially because this all depends on what your job within the armed forces is, which branch you're part of, and where your PTSD comes from. After talking to all these different people, I learned that each branch has different rules and regulations. And the second thing I learned is that they do have resources available, like the DoD self-help line that everyone's supposed to have on them. It's like a card they get. They're supposed to carry at all times. And they all have some version of SHARP representatives. The acronyms change depending on which arm of the military you're in, but these are the people who you report things to. You report if you've been raped, assaulted, or harassed. But as for basic mental health care, you're only psychologically assessed for duty when you're getting your initial background check and security clearance. Now, your superior officer can request another one to be completed if they feel that your mental health is deteriorating in any way. But if we consider Peter Mims, he was displaying all sorts of signs prior to his breakdown, and he received no assistance. His superior officer did not request that he get another psychological assessment, even though other members on the ship had reported him saying he could shoot fireballs out of his hands and he felt like people were watching him and out to get him. There were so many signs, yet no one cared to help him. And this also goes for those who've been sexually assaulted. When I was doing all this research, I found out that the sexual assault rates within our armed forces are staggering. It happens all the time, and people don't know how to speak up, and even when they do, things are often not done. To give you an idea of how prevalent sexual assault is, the advocate that I spoke with shared that during her time in the Navy, 15 to 20 formal reports of sexual assault were reported each and every month. Now, this doesn't account for all the harassment and assault that goes unreported, because many people do. Even outside of the armed forces, we know often people don't report when things happen. And they also believe that the accounts from males are seriously underreported. So on to more positive things. What type of treatment can we get if we're struggling? Sadly, when it comes to the VA, the waits are long, and the worry of getting a diagnosis that will end a career keep people from reporting harmful events and getting the help that they so desperately need. And while each VA is going to be different, I heard from many of you that you've moved and they've been better, but there just aren't enough mental health professionals to go around. So often, waits are long, treatments are short, and many struggle to even say how they're really feeling for fear that they'll lose their jobs. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a real answer for this issue, but what I think is important is that we talk about it, make people aware of it, and push for better treatment of our troops. They give their all so that we can be safe. The least we can do is care for them when they finally return home. We as a country give so much money each and every year to the military, and I honestly think that we should be more specific about how that money is spent. We need to do better. Because of all the issues with accessibility and confidentiality, I'm really excited that I was able to partner with BetterHelp on this video to bring you a more accessible, not to mention more affordable therapy option. Now, what BetterHelp is, if you don't know, because I've partnered with them before, is it's an app that helps connect you with a therapist or counselor at an affordable weekly rate. And once you fill out their short intake questionnaire, you're connected with the counselor within 24 hours. You are then able to receive professional counseling using your computer, tablet, mobile phone, whatever, anytime you need, anywhere you are. Since all of the service members I spoke with shared their fear of having people around them know that they were seeking therapy or that it was too expensive to seek it outside of the VA, BetterHelp is a great way to get confidential and affordable therapy no matter where you happen to be stationed. BetterHelp has helped over 600,000 people, many of whom are members of our community, and I think it's a great resource. So click the link in the description and get started today, because you deserve to get the help you need when you need it most. And if you're open to it, please leave your story in the comments. Are you part of our armed forces? Have you utilized their mental health care system? Please share, because as always, with your experience and my expertise, we will continue working towards a healthy mind and a healthy body. And I will see you next time. Bye.